those issues. One of the raging issues then was creation of states. And we thought that it's not an issue that should be left unattended. At the same time, we didn't want to jump into it blindly and do it in a way that will probably not meet adequately the yearning of the people. By the time we came in, we had 12 states, which were created by General Gowan on the eve of our Civil War. So we set up a panel, a committee under Justice GCFR, and the panel was balanced, and the idea was for the panel to go around the country, listen to people, make recommendation as to what and where and how states should be created. And that panel, that GCFR panel, did a very good job and recommended 19 states. What there happened among the 19 states, there were no problem, really, except that in one area, the major criterion they used was incompatibility. And we said to ourselves, if incompatibility will be a factor of creation of states, then we might as well break up the country up, because we will see that incompatibility will go through everywhere. So we did not accept that. We did not accept incompatibility as a factor of creation of states. Then we looked at the other factors, which contiguity and all that, all sorts of other factors. But in the case of Ogun State, they found difficulty in creating Ogun State as it is today, because they found that yet Lagos is by itself requires a special attention as federal capital and political capital, economic capital, and the inflow of people into Lagos had always been a problem. And of course, the management of traffic in Lagos was that time a problem, in spite of bridges and that we were building and flyovers. But the problem they had was they talked to people in what is Oyo State now, particularly Ibadan, who said, well, they want Oyo State, but they will prefer that Ijebus will not join them. They are ready to take Ogun State, to take Abeokuta, or what you call it now. And then they even said in the report or in the white paper, I don't know which of them, that Lagos is already problematic. And any territory attached to Lagos will be disadvantaged because the problem of dealing with Lagos as it is now. So we then said, okay, let us carve out this area that is becoming problematic, Ijebu province, Abeokuta province, then let's put them together. And rather than they being attached to Lagos and be disadvantaged if attached to Lagos, because all the money for Lagos State will be sunk in dealing with the special problem of Lagos State. And that became the reason that the then Abeokuta province and Ijebu province were brought together to form what today is known as Ogun State. I think that is the background. I would say that over the past 45 years, one of the states that has not changed in the structure that it was since it was created in 1976 is Ogun State. Almost all others have changed. I think what used to be Oyo State has now been divided into Oyo and Osun. What used to be Ondo State has now been divided into Ondo and Ekiti. Lagos remain more or less as it was, and Ogun State remain more or less as it was. And I think the only one that I remember is more or less as it was is Niger State. Almost all others, I think Kebbi has been broken out of Sokoto and all that. Jigawa has been broken out of Kano. Katsina has been broken out of Kaduna. But having said that, then what has happened? I believe initially, of course, we had, which is understandable. Oh, look, the way developed two capitals, Ijebu, Ode, and Abeokuta, and initially that seemed to be the way it was going. You have a hotel, government hotel in Abeokuta, you have another one in Ijebu Ode, you build a government stadium in Abeokuta, you build another one in Ijebu Ode, whether it's needed or it's used or not. But I believe that over the years that had been overtaken by reality and by what I will call the maturity of the people of Ogun State and our leaders. That, well, in any situation, the fact that a city is a political capital does not mean that other cities within that state or within that country cannot be developed.
Excellency, you actually mentioned in the course of answering the first question that there are some gaps. As a founding father, as one of the founding fathers of the state, would you like to tell us what are these gaps for the benefit of the present generation and the generations yet to come?
Yes, you are right. I made the point in giving the background, and I went beyond the background to the early stages of the life of the state, and I mentioned that at the beginning it was not clear whether in the state we want to develop and concentrate on a political capital and let the other towns and cities develop in their own right. But that took some time. But when we were able to get over that, I think it was clear that cities can develop in their own right, that whatever is capital, and there are certain things that the capital must have that you just have to grant that. And I believe, for me, that the fact that a city is a political capital does not mean that that city is should be better in every respect than the other cities that are not political capital. The cities that are political capital must have what they should have. But I think the U.S., Washington, D.C. is the capital, but New York is the city that in every sense, except that it's not a political capital. It beats all other cities almost in every sense. When you go to even cities like Chicago, they beat Washington, D.C., except that they do not have Capitol, the congressional, they don't have White House there. I think we got over that, and I believe, and I strongly believe that really nothing should stop any other city from developing in its own right. And in fact, if it has to develop and overtake the development of this state capital or the country capital. Then I said that there was initially a little bit of over-politicking, which is also part of the first point I made. And when you over-politicize, instead of it blinkers you, and what you should see as clearly as you see it, you don't see it because you are wearing what I would call blinkers of politics. And I believe that was there. Then I said we should not adopt any sanctimonious position. We in Ogun State suffer what is the malady of all malady throughout the rest of Nigeria, which is corruption. We had our own fair share, and I don't know whether we are still not having our own fair share of corruption, which of course corruption and development, they are not strong bedfellows. Corruption adversely affects development. Then, of course, I believe in some areas we haven't got our priorities right. For me, education is very, very important. And Ogun State used to be among the 3 leading states in education in this country. I don't know where we are today, but we are definitely not among the 3 leading states. Now, why has that happened? How can we correct that? And I believe we must correct that. Then I believe also that we seem to be neglecting the rural area in the interest of the urban area. Most of the roads to our rural areas are impossible, most of them. A lot is being done in the urban areas, but most of our people still live in the rural area. And I believe optimum attention needs to be paid to the rural area. Rural development, rural roads, water supply in the rural area, primary health in the rural area. These, I believe, are issues that we must not ignore. But yes, things have been done, but there are areas where more could have been done.
You told us how the capital city was oscillating between Ijebu and Abeokuta. You have also had Shagamu in the equation. How did Shagamu come into it?
No, when the state was created, Ijebu, they did their own work, I must say that, and they didn't want Abeokuta as the capital. And they believe that rather than have Ijebu, which may not be possible, let's go for Shagamu. That's how Shagamu came in. Are you for?
Huh? But at the end of the day, the thing came to Abeokuta.
Of course.
And some people felt, sir, that you influenced.
Now, if it's your turn and you have a house, when you walk it, use it that way. But really, on a serious note, what is Ogun State today used to be Abeokuta province until 1932, when Ijebu province was carved out. And when Ijebu province was carved out, the residence was in Abeokuta. Only DO was in Ijebu. So how will you now say that when what used to be Abeokuta province became Ogun State, the capital that used to be Abeokuta will change? Even when I put that argument, my colleague said, okay. And that's true argument. So the thing again is that when you are planning to do something, get all your facts and figures right. And when that was presented, our colleagues started saying, no. Well, the argument was Abeokuta is narrow, is rocky, and all that. No, okay, that as an element of that, Abeokuta, that's why it's called Abeokuta. You cannot say Abeokuta is not rocky. But even then, Abeokuta still has land. The other day I was with my friend Awujale. Awujale said Ijebu-Ode is equidistant from the west and to the east as a KBC. I don't know where you learn your geometry from. all that as history, but yes, but on a serious note, Abeokuta deserves to be the state capital. On a serious note. Historically,
Sir, Your Excellency, the people of the state, there's a pattern that has emerged. We're known for hard work, we're known for integrity, and there's the open standard. What would you say is responsible for this, sir?
There are these things they call traits. Now, science is giving us something they call DNA. Before science gets to the point of giving us DNA, in our own society, they will say, in fact, if you want to marry in a family, they will say, go and find out. Now, what you are finding out is what is there in that family. That still applies even till today, and that is why now they call it DNA. The scientists have now found out, yes, that if in my family there's a little bit of longevity, you find that it is there. There was one Dr. Majeski here in the Sacred Heart Hospital, and on the 1st of January 1976, I came here from Lagos, and I was going around, and I went to him. He was in charge of Sacred Heart Hospital, and he said to me, look, before I die, I want to build a tuberculosis unit. And I don't think I will live long. And I said, Dr. Majeski, why do you say that? He said, there's no longevity in my family. So he and I agreed. I said, I will help to provide the land if he will look for fund and to build and all that, which is now what we call Sacred Heart Hospital Annex. I provided the land, and you will not believe that as he was completing that hospital, he died. It was not, I think he was around 65 years of age. He died. So what I'm trying to say is that there are these peculiarities in us. And another thing that I will say is probably makes us unique is the early contact with education. We had a Weroing here even before anybody anywhere in Nigeria was talking of a print media, and we had early in the 19th century, 1860 something, doctors and lawyers, and those things don't just disappear. They wet and sharpen. They wetted and sharpened our own consciousness, our own ability, and you will see that the anthem of Ogun State says, "Iṣẹ́ wà fún wa láti ṣe." Now, if you know that you have a task to perform, then you wake up and perform it. And again, I think we imbibe quite a lot of the what I call the right Yoruba attitude and attribute. It's not money. Ìwà pẹ̀lẹ́, ìwà ọmọlúàbí, ìrẹ̀lẹ̀, but hard work in all this. Hard work, integrity. Now, these are some of the things we cherish, and we don't, our forefathers and grandparents, they don't play with these things. They take them very, very seriously. I left my village 1949. I didn't go back until 1979. My father's farmland, in fact, when I got back and they said, well, look at this Peregun. This is the boundary of your father's land. I don't know whether they are still doing that today. But that is the sort of integrity, the sort of attribute that were maintained. And see, another thing in our part, kì í ṣọmọ tí wọ́n bá bí fálè nìkan ló máa lè. Ọmọ tí ò bá hùwà bó ṣe yẹ kó hùwà ní ìdílé ẹ̀, ọmọ àlè ni. You see, so it's always, it keeps you on your toes to behave properly. It keeps you on your toes. And when they even say to you, ọmọ alágbájá, ilé báyìí, that's enough. Because there is no anonymity. Today, who cares where you come from or who you do? But we shouldn't allow that. We should still keep and cherish those aspects of our way of life, our culture, that make us different as a people, that make us what we are. Ọmọlúàbí. And that we must not destroy.
Can you also recall in the story of our development moments that were really sad about how things were actually happening in the state?
There were things, for instance, what transpired between Awujale, a distinguished traditional ruler in Ogun State, and the governor, who was, in fact, a distinguished personality in his own right from Ijebu-Ode, was not what should have happened. But it happened. And you see, that sort of thing, people tend to pass it by and say, well, it's come and gone. In one form or the other, it detracts us from being able to focus on the essentials and getting us going in the right way. That issue of Awujale and Ambition Obasanjo was very unfortunate. Well, of course, it was eventually settled And when it was settled, things in Ijebu started going very smoothly. Now, there are other occasions where you have that type of situation, even here between Alake and the governor, and probably not as pronounced as the one of the governor in Ijebu and Ahujale. And there's no need, there are no needs for this, because, as I said to Alake Lipede, look, you don't need to go into a conflict or quarrel with anybody. The governor will come and go. Yes, traditional rulers do not rule, although we call them traditional rulers. They do not rule, but they still reign. And you should give them that respect.
You have told us that Ogun State has had its fair share of the good and what one can say is the bad. Where do you see Ogun State in the next 5-10 years? And as we are celebrating, what's your message for the people?
Well, I will say, you see, I will talk of all-round development. And I've mentioned that you cannot pay attention to the urban area at the expense of the rural area. And we seem to be doing that. We must correct that. We must correct that, and we must correct it fast. I've talked about what how we have slipped back or slid back in education. I believe that is one thing we should never have allowed to happen. Education, education, education. 3, I believe we are in a unique position because of our proximity to Lagos. There's no other state that is in that position. How do we take advantage of it? How do we make use of it to the advantage of our people in Ogun State? And we can. We can. 4, I believe that while we have different groups, we should have one thing: Ogun indigen. We should have commonality of Ogun indigen. And that will only be brought about by leaders. We have seen what bad leadership can do in a country, not even talking of a state. In the US, now, it can happen. And if it can happen within a settled society like the US, it can happen with a fragile and still settling society like our own. What are these? What are there that we will make to make us feel, yes, I am a proud Ogun citizen? Whether you come from Emeko, or you come from Shagamu, or you come from Ibara Orile, or you come from Owode. Now, what is it that makes you an Ogun citizen? And I think these are some of the things. And we must also take care of work, employment. I don't know one of the things I found most distressing, is it what I would say, or discouraging, is now you tell young people to come and work. They don't want to work. They want to ride Okada. And if you push them too much, they will abuse you. They will insult you. So what do we do about that? Some people bring their children to me, look for a job for, we want you to get him or her a job. And I say, oh, you know the job I do is farming. Not that, not that one. And I say, what one is then? Central Bank, Customs, Immigration. Now, we have to change that orientation. And when I tell them that, look, I have a son who has a PhD from Cambridge, one of the best universities in the world, is working with me on the farm. They say, what is wrong? It's true. I think we need to change our people's attitude about work. I still believe that what will solve the unemployment situation in Nigeria in general, and particularly in Ogun State, is agribusiness. That is where the majority of our people will be able to get employment from. And that is from equipment that you make to prepare land, up to food on the table. All the value chain, up to food on the table.
Agriculture, that's one of the strongest areas of the current administration in the state. Do you? That's what people say in town. Do you also share that?
Yeah. When Governor Dapo Abiodun came, I visited him and I said, look, let me mention a few things. I mentioned education that I have talked about. I mentioned rural development and agribusiness. And I said to him, look, in agribusiness, I don't believe you should go here, there, and yonder. Focus on limited areas. You are not discouraging people in other areas, but focus on limited areas and push. And I said, maybe 2, not more than 3 areas of crop. And similarly, livestock. And rightly, he decided that for crops, he will go for cassava and rice. For livestock, he will go for poultry and aquaculture. Of course, all other things is not discouraging them, but these 4 areas. And I said, you are welcome. We are in agriculture, and we will go along with you in these 4 areas, and we are.
Your Excellency, 45 years ago, the current situation of the security was not like this. 45 years after, how can we better secure Ogun State? What can be done?
Well, you see, my dear brother, they have a saying in Yoruba that fish rot from the head. You can do very little for security in Ogun State if security in Nigeria is not what it should be. You can do very little in Ogun State if security generally in Nigeria is not what it should be. We fought a civil war in this country. It took us 30 months. We have been with Boko Haram now since 2010 at least. 10 years. And we are still going round in a circle. Why? Why? Rather, what do we get? We got added to Boko Haram banditry, herdsmen. You hear some annoying noises. Look, if some group of people are menacing others in any part of the country, it doesn't matter who they are, what tribe they belong to, we should put that in check. It's not a question of saying, oh, well, we move them from this and that, or if you move them, we wage war on you. No. Why are they doing it? And if we know why they are doing it, what can we do to stop them from doing it? One of the things that I have to confront in government was militancy in the Niger Delta. And one day I said, look, bring all these boys. They know the creek and they're there. So I said, well, they were afraid. I said, look, whatever crime you have committed, come. For the purpose of this meeting, you have amnesty. And they came. About 39 of them. In my council chamber, where I meet with my ministers. And I started asking them, look, why are you doing this? His father killed my father. And I said, look, is that a way of life? And I look at one boy, he was well-dressed, looking well, and so I pointed to him. I said, why are you doing this? And he got up. I said, Mr. President, I will tell you. When you were military head of state, you established UPE, Universal Primary Education. That's why I was able to go to school. And I did well in primary school, so I went to secondary school. And from secondary school, I took exam to go to university. And I was successful. And I said, look, because I come from oil-producing area, I will study chemical engineering. 4 years, I had a 2-1 in chemical engineering, first degree. 4 years, I have no job. So I just look at him, I say, I understand. And then I called the oil companies, the parastatal, the local government chairman, the state governors, and say, look, we want to now set our focus on job creation, employment generation, and wealth creation for these young people. And every quarter, I bring them in, everybody, oil companies, state governor, local government, community leaders, and these boys. And I will stand there and you tell us what progress you are making. And we started dealing with the issue of militancy. I have always asked question, those boys that are following cattle, are they the owners of those cattle? They cannot be. If they are not, of course, those owners of cattle who are elite, what are they doing? We have always had them with us, but they don't carry AK-47 rifle. They have lived with us. Now, who buy AK rifle for them? And if that is the situation, what do you do with those people? So you talk of security. Ogun State can't do it alone. Maybe if we now start to devolve power, responsibilities, and resources down, maybe one of the first things we should do in that case would be allow state police. It won't solve the problem completely, but it will be the beginning. You won't need Amatekun. You will have proper state police. It will still not stop the federal government having federal police to maintain security in federal territory, in major entry points or departure points in the country, airport and seaports. And it won't even stop them from having mobile police located in strategic areas, and when a governor needs it, he will call the president for the deploy of that. But we have to start thinking out of the box. If we have done something for 10 years and we haven't got solution, then it's about time we should have started thinking and doing something, doing things differently.
Perhaps you're actually going towards the debate over the years. Nigeria has had a very fragile federalism. But again, who is afraid of federalism?
I don't think anybody should be afraid of federalism. I am not. I don't know if you are. No. Federalism means what I have just said to you now. Devolve power, devolve responsibility, devolve resources to where it can be best addressed. Look, if the Fulani herdsmen have been with us, I have seen Fulani herdsmen when I was growing up in my village. Now, they were innocuous and, well, occasionally they overrun things and they settle it. It doesn't lead to anything. They settle and but what has gone wrong? Why is that not happening now? Because the Fulani man is entitled to livelihood, just as the farmer in my village. But the Fulani man should not destroy the farm of the farmer in my village for his own livelihood, and so that the farmer in my village will lose his own livelihood.
If that is close to what we also read in the papers every day, which is restructuring, isn't that a constitutional issue, Chief Obasanjo?
Now, what I've told you is my own understanding of restructuring. Restructuring is devolving power, responsibilities, and resources down.
Your Excellency, sir, you retired from politics in the build-up to the 2015 election, but you still comment strongly about politics. What are those things that you miss in partisan politics, sir?
What are the things that
you miss in partisan politics?
That I met?
That you miss
in being outside of politics.
I don't miss anything. I'm happy to be out of it. What do you mean? Miss? No, I don't miss anything.
Man is a political animal.
Yes, but man is not a partisan political animal. He said, what do I miss in partisan politics? Man is a political animal, yes. Man, politics to me is the welfare of the people. So, but that's not partisan politics. So I'm still interested in welfare of the people. I'm still doing that. So, but not partisanly.
when you were president, you were in politics actively. So what has gone amiss between when you were president and now?
I should ask you. Yes. Have you seen any difference between when I was in politics and now? Have you seen any difference in Nigeria between when I was in politics and now? Answer now.
A lot.
Yeah, a lot. I should then ask you, why? Because now, where I sit down, JJ, and you see change, you see difference. Me, I sit down where I sit down.
So how can we
The issue is leadership.
Yeah. Now, how can we get that transformational leader who can rally us around? You know, somebody who will not be partisan, who will not be tribalized, who will not be religious. 2023 is just beckoning. So how can we get that kind of person, a detribalized Nigerian?
Yeah, you are again getting it wrong. If you are placing your attention on 2023, not how Nigeria will get to 2023 and beyond in a way that Nigeria will remain an entity, then you are going wrong.
So how can that leader?
The leader is not the issue first. The leader is the second. The first issue is how do we get to 2023 and beyond with Nigeria remain intact. When we are able to resolve that, and I believe we will substantially resolve that if we go for what I have said, devolution of power, responsibilities, and resources, then the issue of how do we pick leaders will come in. In other countries, they have a way. In America, if you are looking for president of America, you will not normally look outside the League of Governors and members of the Congress. Now, they thought that they wanted somebody outside the establishment, and they got somebody. Now, they have regretted it. Now, and they have regretted it, they've corrected their way. In Britain, normally you would get people from what they call public schools. And public schools are their own private schools, what they call public schools. Or those who have been to Cambridge or Oxford, and when they come, they start work at the constituency level. Then they become member of House of Assembly. Then they are backbenchers. They grow up to be frontbenchers and become. So they have a system. I believe that if we are able to stabilize ourselves in a way that we know Nigeria now has come to stay, and we are not talking about, well, whether Nigeria is going to break and all that, and we all agree that yes, this is our country. Now, some of the things that we have taken for granted in our constitution, we now know that they don't work. Or not that they don't work, that somebody can write roughshod over them. We have Federal Character Commission. Have you heard of Federal Character doing anything in the last 6 years? Is Federal Character actually indicated in all that the current government has done? And where is the Federal Character Commission? Now, so we now know that, yes, good intention, Federal Character Commission, but it doesn't work. Or it can be made not to work. If we know that, so what do we now have to put in place? So those are the things And then the question of leaders. You get, but let me say this, leaders don't flock. They don't. In a generation, if you get two, you are lucky.
Excellency, we must thank you so much for this rare privilege of talking to us on this auspicious occasion of Ogun State clocking 45. Thank you so much. I must also thank my colleague, Wahid Andari, for this wonderful interview.
It's a pleasure, yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, you are most welcome. And let me take this opportunity to say congratulations to all of us in Ogun State on the anniversary of on the 45th anniversary of the creation of the state. The state has done fairly well, as we have been saying. The areas and but even with those areas, we still have reason to thank God, and let's thank God and appreciate our leaders in spite of their inadequacies. None of them is perfect that have been there, but they have done their best, and let's hope that those who will come after them will do better.
Thank you so much, sir. That's a special interview with Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, former president of Nigeria. The interview put together to commemorate the 45th anniversary of the creation of the Gateway State, Ogun State. We'll catch you some other time. Thank you so much for watching us.